your election headquarters on TV, radio, and online. Election headquarters, supported by Star Ghana.
Welcome back. Now, the prison service says it is leaving nothing to chance as inmates in their country's jails go to the polls for the first time this December to vote in national elections. The prisoners' right to vote was handed them in a landmark Supreme Court ruling 2 years ago, which was subsequently followed up with a biometric registration of the prisoners in May this year. Public Relations Officer of the Prison Service, ASP Karit Achem, says special security arrangements will be put in place to ensure the process is orderly for the less than 500 prisoners who will be voting.
The prison's PRO explains the security measures are especially crucial because this is the first time the service is embarking on such an exercise.
You know that when it comes to elections, it's basically the duty of the police to ensure security, especially for the ballot boxes and election officials. And so, yes, it's possible that when it comes to that, the police would ensure the security of the ballot boxes and the election officials, while the prison officers will ensure security both in the inner and outer perimeters of the prison facilities. You know that when it comes to elections, the officers of the Ghana Prison Service also support the other security services, especially the Ghana Police Service, in ensuring security. And so the same will apply in our prisons as well when the inmates are given the opportunity to vote. And so as far as security in the prisons is concerned, on the election day, I want to say that we are ever ready and there are no concerns at all.
He explains how polling will be conducted on election day for the 466 who were registered.
Depending on the number of inmates who have been registered in the various prisons, polling centers will be set up in the prisons. And so if you take a place like in some medium security prison where the number is a bit large and the space we have a big space in there as well. The Electoral Commission actually will be the authorized body to determine the number of polling stations that should be set up at every station or every prison. But I think that the instance, for instance, can take about 2 or 3 polling stations.
Not too many inmates showed interest in the registration exercise, with just the figure who showed interest less than 5% of the eligible voters behind bars. The Electoral Commission's Principal Public Relations Officer, Silviano, however, says they will ensure those who registered are able to exercise their franchise freely.
Now, in essence, I'm trying to say that making elections successful is a collective responsibility. Now, it is not for us alone. In terms of logistics, in terms of preparations, the EC is adequately preparing for the elections. So all stakeholders must also play their roles effectively to make sure that the elections is successful.
The Electoral Commission has meanwhile already explained that the prisoners will only vote in the presidential elections, citing complications if they have to vote for parliamentarians as well.
The Alliance for Accountable Governance has called off its intended 3-day Red Revolution demonstration slated for September 25 to 27. AVAC cites disagreement over the route originally lined out.
The Alliance for Accountable Governance, in accordance with the Public Order Act 491 of 1994, on Wednesday, the 12th of September 2012, duly wrote to the Ghana Police Service to notify them on our intent to embark on this demonstration. It will interest you to note that some days later, the police, which had agreed to and approved our route, invited the leadership of AFAD to a meeting, only to renege on the agreement reached earlier. To demonstrate their seriousness and unpreparedness to guard and protect demonstrators, the police promised to secure an interim injunction to halt this demonstration.
Vice President of AFAG, Henry Asare, members of the group to be patient and law-abiding whilst they work with the police to resolve the matter. In the meantime, though, he said the demonstration has been postponed.
In view of this development, coupled with our commitment to the tenets of peaceful protest, AFAG, in the interest of public good, is forced underline, to announce the postponement for the second time, an intended demonstration due to orchestration by the powers that be and ably supported by institutions of state to make room for further engagement.
This is the second time the Red Revolution debate has been called off, and officials are hoping to stage the demonstration to register their displeasure over some decisions by the Electoral Commission they deemed controversial.
Your election headquarters on TV, radio, and online. Election headquarters supported by Star Ghana.
In other news, Parliament today adopted a loan facility for the development of feeder roads and steel bridges in rural communities across the country. It also adopted a tax waiver report on goods and services relating to the e-government project amidst reservations by some members of the House.
The 9,857,852 euros credit agreement between the Government of Ghana and BNP Paribas Fortis Bank is for the supply of steel bridges for the enhancement of rural development on selected feeder roads across the country. The motion was moved by MP for Sege, Alfred Abayate, and seconded by MP for Old Tafo, Dr. Antonia Osei. In seconding the motion, some members reiterated the need for due diligence on value for money.
Approving the sole sourced procurement and getting the value for money after the approval, that is wrong in principle. It's wrong in principle. So if that is what we've been doing, then it is wrong, and we should not do it again. In fact, even before the documents come up to this House and pass to the Finance Committee for consideration, that value for money exercise should have been undertaken.
We'll be very happy if anybody can cite one single sole sourcing that the Public Procurement Authority did not ask for value for money before they approve, because they will always do that. And we are to strengthen institutions. Once we already have constitutional bodies that ensure that those things are done, it is only very important that the committee that it may be going, whether it is health, water, finance, to follow up to ensure that, has this thing been properly done?
The report of the Finance Committee on the request for a waiver of custom duties, VAT, EDIF, ECOWAS levies, destination inspection fees, withholding taxes, corporate income taxes, and other charges amounting to 43,041,816.50 US dollars on goods and services relating to e-government platform projects was adopted, with members challenging the total amount of the waiver.
Corporate tax, which, Mr. Speaker, I have a problem with, because it is a company that is going to work and make profits. And we are saying here, we are being asked that we should allow the company not to pay tax. They should take the profit and then go away.
What has become of the exemptions regime, to the extent that here we are today, we are asked to approve the granting of $43 million as waiver for a foreign company to be able to pursue such projects in this country. I think we should match our words with this.
In the end, a resolution was made and the report adopted on the basis of the combined operations of the provisions of Section 26, Subclause 2 of the SEPS Management Law, the 1993 PNDC Law 330, the Export and Import Act 503, the VAT Act, and other existing laws and regulations applicable to the collection of customs duties and other taxes on importation of goods into the country. Sitting continues tomorrow.
It's now time for the business reports. In the very first story, the Bank of Ghana has lifted its suspension of the license of Access Bank Ghana Limited that enables it to engage in foreign exchange transactions. Access Bank was slapped with a 6-month ban in July this year for violating the Foreign Exchange Act 2006, Act 723.
It's been a harrowing experience. We've learned that whatever you're doing, once you do it right, that is your protection. You need to uphold the ethics of the profession, And we try to be transparent, which is what one of our values are as a bank.
The decision to lift the bank was reached after the Bank of Ghana reviewed Access Bank's compliance with the directives, internal control measures put in place to forestall the recurrence of the breaches and efforts being made to repatriate the proceeds of the illegal foreign exchange transferred. Business Report spoke to Access Bank on the new developments.
To the extent that we are not able to do some aspects of the foreign exchange business. So definitely there are some of our customers' requests or some of their needs that were not able to be met during that period. And you can imagine what will happen within 6 weeks. We are not able to attend to those businesses. Definitely to that extent it affected our business. Yes, it has affected our business, but our business is still operating. We are still standing. The bank is still very strong. Our ratios are very strong, are very good. It's just slowed us down. That's how I'll put it. But honestly, it did not bring us to a halt.
Management of the bank has also assured customers of their commitment to provide better service delivery.
The Bank of Ghana has since come. They are satisfied with what they've seen, and that's what has led to the lifting of the ban. It's been a relief. We're happy that it's over. We're happy that we are free to go out in the market and take competition on. We've learned our lessons. We're very, very optimistic about the future, and that's what we want to face right now.
The Bank of Ghana has, however, reminded all banks and licensed dealers in foreign exchange to comply strictly with the provision of the Foreign Exchange Act 2006, Act 723.
The Institute of Economic Affairs has described as overambitious government's aim to have Ghanaian businesses provide 90% of the goods and services supplied to the oil and gas sector. Government is hoping the local content target will be achieved in 10 years. But the Institute says this is impossible. It wants government to rather concentrate on areas where the country has competitive advantage.
Presenting the final communique at the end of a capacity building workshop, Senior Research Fellow at the IEA, Dr. Kwabena Kwache, explained it will take a while for the country to have the needed human resource to take charge of the sector.
Protectionism can also lead to higher costs and lower revenues. The current 90% local content target appears too ambitious to be achieved within a time frame of 10 years. Any company that is given a license to operate would have to partner with GNPC, which represents Ghana. There's a need to refine the crude oil that we produce. Upstream oil companies should be encouraged to float shares on the Ghana Stock Exchange so that Ghanaians can buy shares and become shareholders of these companies.
He also argues that the risk, cost and technicalities involved in the industry require huge investment that may not be readily available, thus focusing on strengthening the competences and capabilities in areas where Ghanaians have the upper hand.
The recommendation in the communique is that we should look at various categories of goods, equipment, and say that, if it's light equipment, light manufacturers, then of course Ghanaians can attain that capacity 90%. But if it is a heavy equipment like the platform, the drilling platform and other things, then that is probably too ambitious. Then when you talk about technical staff, that is where most of the skills, the high skills, high expertise is concentrated. As opposed to other staff, for instance, are those who provide ordinary services. Those ones we can have Ghanaians take over in 10 years.
There were concerns the communique was not elaborate enough on how to address the pitfalls identified. Dr. Kwache, however, says there will be follow-up workshops. The participants in the 2-day workshop were drawn from SRAJ, Parliament, key ministries, the Ghana Revenue Authority, and other civil society organizations. Together with the IEA, they are expected to impress upon government to consider the recommendations.
We wrap up the segment with some smart investment tips.